Over its 12-year run, the Ninjago LEGO theme has had a fair few design motifs. These range from anything from obviously basic ninja designs, to snakes, to dragons, and in this case, skeletons. I thought I would take this video to go over every single incarnation of Ninjago's skeleton villains, from the 2011 pilot sets all the way to the 2023 core sets. Get ready, because we have quite a few minifigures to discuss today. The first set of minifigures we have here are the 2011 skeleton minifigures, released for the pilot season of Ninjago. Looking back, these minifigures have aged excellently. What I really love about them is how they toe the line between being goofy and accessible to kids, and not looking like complete jokes. These guys wear their alignment to evil on their sleeve, and that's apparent in pretty much every single one of their designs. They look menacing and like solid opponents to the ninja. But the designs aren't scary enough to the point where they'd be scaring off small kids who are getting into the theme for the first time. These designs don't instill fear more than they do make the Skullkin look formidable, which makes a lot of sense within Ninjago's story, because while in the grander context of the show, the Skullkin aren't nearly the strongest villains the ninja have ever fought, they definitely were formidable when the ninja were just learning. These designs perfectly reflect the simpler era of Ninjago that they came from, and I love them for that. The next set of minifigures I have to show you now is the Skullkin, again. This is from when they made their grand return in the TV movie Day of the Departed, along with other villains such as the Anaconda Warriors, the Ghosts, and the Ninjaroids. This set of minifigures is basically if they just took the pilot minifigures and kept making them. There's no real design overhauls or changes here, just some refreshed Skullkin designs, nothing too major. I almost forgot, they also got a cool little mech as well. When Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu ended and the World Brain era of the show started, LEGO decided it was time to look back. And so, in accordance with that desire, LEGO launched Ninjago's first sub-theme, Legacy. The Legacy sub-theme set out to remake classic Ninjago sets from the early days of the theme, and bring in classic show models that were never seen in the set into set form. And as you can imagine, being from the very first episodes of the show, the Skullkin got remakes. Though these differ a lot from the Day of the Departed Skullkin. The Day of the Departed Skullkin feel as if they just kept making 2011 pilot Skullkin minifigures, whereas these feel like a reimagining of the classic designs. And I think these redesigns work to very mixed effects. Gone are the iconic black shoes and in are generic skeleton legs. This is a change that, in hindsight, I really wish didn't happen. These shoes gave the Skullkin a lot of personality and set them apart from other skeleton designs. But there was a trade-off there, because with these Legacy Skullkin minifigures we got new, specifically molded skeleton minifigure heads. And they look pretty cool. Personally, I don't know how to feel about them in relation to them being on the Skullkin, because them having different molded heads to humans kind of takes away that feeling that they are the skeletons of humans, but I would be lying if I said this mold wasn't really cool. So all in all, the Legacy Skullkin are a pretty mixed bag. They get some things right, they get some things I think could be done better, but all in all, they're alright in my book. Now, if you're bracing to hear about the 4th revision of the Skullkin, I have good news for you. Introducing the Awakened Warriors from Season 13 of Ninjago, Master of the Mountain. These are mindless skeletal soldiers reanimated by the Skull Sorcerer, using the Skull of Hazador, which, depending on how you're feeling, you could count as one of the types of skeleton. These skeleton soldiers reuse the Skullkin head from the Legacy set, but are much darker than their Skullkin counterparts. They also use the shoulder armor introduced with the Legacy Skullkin, and sport black samurai helmets with a black bone piece on top of it. I understand the appeal of these guys being an army of identical mindless soldiers, but I do wish there was a bit more variation in at least some of their designs. This isn't helped by the fact that across the Master of the Mountain set wave, you can only find 3 Awakened Warriors, with one of them being in the Skull Sorcerer's dungeons and the other 2 being in the Skull Sorcerer's dragon. This is because the Geckos and the Munts were also positioned as antagonizing forces in the sets, but that obviously didn't pan out in the show, with the Geckos and the Muntses being allies to the ninja. This leaves the reawakened warriors in the sets in a weird place, where the Skull Sorcerer sends his ferocious army of 3 soldiers against the ninja. I suppose that's what Bricklink is for. As for their actual designs, I do wish there was a bit more variation between them as mentioned before, but what we have here is really cool looking. It's a very straightforward design, it doesn't bog you down with any unnecessary details, it is very simply a skeleton soldier that's been resurrected by some weird green energy reflecting out of its face. And I think this design captures that idea really well. Also, the contrast of black and lime green is a very pretty color scheme. I feel like the Awakened Warriors had a lot more potential to improve, but what we have here is pretty great. Last but definitely not least, we have the Bone Warriors from the Ninjago Core 2023 set, and these minifigures are beautiful. These guys take the small parts of green seen on the colour scheme of the Awakened Warriors and absolutely rolls with it. The Bone Warriors also sport a lot of red chainmail armour, and on paper the idea of a mint green, black and red colour scheme sounds incredibly messy, but in execution, this looks really good. The Bone Warriors also have a new half mask piece, which is basically a giant green lower skeleton jaw. I think this piece looks awesome and adds so much depth to these minifigures. My only problem with it is the green is slightly miscolored in relation to the rest of the green on the minifigure, because when you have mint green printing on a black minifigure, it's gonna be a bit faded. But that problem isn't the end of the world for me. These guys still look amazing. I particularly love the design of the Bone King. I love how he has a mint green face with this weird automaton metal skeleton face on it. It makes him really stand out from all of his goons and really cements him as an intimidating leader to this faction. Also, the sheer amount of red and gold colors on this guy's torso and legs really gives him a sense of royalty, fit for a king. The last thing I want to say about him is that I really love the tattered cape piece. It does a really good job at making him look old and ancient, whilst also looking like a technological nightmare. Absolutely love this minifigure, could ramble about it for ages. One last thing I want to note is that these guys sport newly molded skeletal weapon pieces, and they are beautiful. I love these molds so much. So, that is every type of Ninjago skeleton minifigure from 2011 through 2023. Now that you've seen all of them, there's only one more thing we can really do. Let's rank them from worst to best. Just a heads up, in this ranking we're going to be grouping together the pilot skeletons and the Day of the Departed skeletons into one category, because they're basically the same. And in at the number 4 category for the worst type of skeleton in my opinion, it's going to be the legacy ones. I still like these guys a fair bit. There's a lot on these minifigures I can point to and say that I like, including the incredible new head mold, but they do kind of come across as watered down stand-in versions of the classic Skullkin minifigures. They aren't bad stand-ins for those minifigures at all, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd go for the originals. In at number 3 we have the Awakened Warriors. These are a really cool spin on the legacy Skullkin designs, and I really enjoy the colour scheme on these. The problem is there's just not enough variation. It's one design that's copied and pasted several times, which I feel like is disappointing. The one design that we do see over and over again is very good and straight to the point, but I wish there was more variations of it. And in at the number 2 section, we have the 2011 and Day of the Departed Skullkin minifigures. I just love these designs so much, man. There's so much simplicity to them and they're so charming, but there's also a lot of depth to them. They have tons of variation, differing color schemes, and do a really good job at looking like a formidable threat to the ninja, whilst not being too scary to scare away a new entry-level Ninjago audience. They wonderfully toe the line between looking goofy and looking intimidating, and I love that about them. And then at the number 1 spot, we have the Bone Warriors from Ninjago Core. I never thought I would see the day where I rank anything from Core as the best of anything Ninjago related, but here we are. I love this villain faction so much. Beautiful colors, beautiful new weapon molds, beautiful designs themselves. These guys are the GOAT of Ninjago skeletons in my opinion, and I'm so excited to see what Core outputs next for its villains. So yeah, that's everything I have to say about the skeletons that have appeared in Ninjago sets from 2011 through 2023. Be sure to let me know what your favourite type of skeleton is down in the comments below, because there is a pretty solid selection to choose from here. Thank you so much for watching this video everyone, be sure to leave a like on it if you enjoyed it. Be